You like vocal jazz? Well, millions of people seem to, as Laufey has become one of the poster girls for modern alt pop and has garnered millions and millions of monthly listeners and really established herself as becoming a mainstay in popular music at the moment, getting lots of viral TikTok moments, having a really established fan base as this new one is proving that those fans are sticking around, ready for anything else that she puts out. And it's quite interesting. This is not the usual style of music that you would expect to go viral, to have such a beloved fan base in the modern era. Because the first track on the album, right out the gate, is very much playing into the traditional pop from the 60s, from even the 50s playbook. Like, it's straight up ripping a page out and just sticking it on your book. And I personally knew this already. I'd heard Bewitched. I thought it was nice. I thought it was okay. But for anyone that's like checking her out for the first ever time, it might surprise you that this is what the album sounds like, because there isn't really anybody else, particularly popular, that's done anything like this in a long time. The closest you could say is Michael Bublé, but even that I feel had a bit more of like a pep to it, a bit more of a pop to it. It was kind of like using that sound as a tool, and it wasn't like sticking properly close, like really, really examining it and not straying away from it at all. I feel like it had its own modern twist. Laufey, I would say, doesn't. And this honestly is a little off-putting for me personally. I think once you get really deep into the track list and you see that there is very little variation from track to track, it becomes very, very monotonous quickly, I think. I think there's just not enough bite, there's not enough pizzazz, you know what I'm saying? There's not enough spice. There's just too much of a safety feel to the album. And most of the time I'm just sat there thinking, could I not just listen to like Sarah Vaughan? Or like Julie London, Frank Sinatra, like, or any of them? Any of them? Have the kids today heard those artists? Because like Laufey isn't doing anything new. Lyrically also too, which I guess I will say there's a modern twist to the style. Like, you know, it's very clearly a 2025 album with its approaches to relationships and relationship drama and breakups and, you know, exes doing you wrong. Like, it has that feel to it, which maybe those albums back then didn't quite have the same angle being used. But even still, that's not enough to separate it. And honestly, a track like Lover Girl, which I like the peppiness to it, I like it like it's a bit more sprightly, I enjoy that about it. But then the lyrics become really cliche and it feels like we're kind of just hearing like a typical early 20s, maybe teen, modern pop girl writing about relationships. Like, there are points on this album where I'm reading into the lyrics, I'm listening to the lyrics, and I'm thinking, you kind of just Gracie Abrams with like a traditional dress as opposed to wearing what Gracie Abrams in 25 would be wearing. Like, the disguise, I can see past the disguise, lady. You just kind of like a 50s version of that. Snow White is where I lose it, man. I'm lost already. This isn't even that far into the album, but I appreciate the discussion on societal expectations, beauty standards, and all that kind of stuff. I get it. I'm all for that being talked about in a song. But this is like the Marina and the Diamonds school for writing, because these lyrics are just so poorly written, man. Like, it's just so basic. It's so obvious. Using Snow White again as like a template to kind of like play into your traditional pop sound. I just felt it was lazy. Like, I don't know, man. I couldn't get behind it at all. I appreciate it, you know, the insecurities, never feeling like you're going to be enough. That's fine. But it's just written in the most basic way imaginable. And you'd think the Disney ended there. but it does not. The Cuckoo Ballet interlude. What is this Disney ass musical nonsense, man? This feels like it's pulled out of Mary Poppins or some shit. Feels like it's pulled out like Beauty and the Beast. Literally the most generic, typical Disney sounding music you will ever hear is on this interlude. What is this? I couldn't, man. It was way too saccharine, and no. The fluffiness continues in the Forget Me Not instrumental, which I feel is just way too fluffy and saccharine. It feels really cheesy. There's just something about the strings that are supposed to be pretty, but it feels a little too much. And I've reviewed albums on this channel, and I've positively reviewed albums on this channel that have those kinds of, you know, overbearing strings and those like really swelling chamber pop moments, and I've given them a lot of praise. And people in the comments have been like, no, this is too much for me. No, this is not, I can't get behind this. It's just all too soppy. It's all too sugary and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, I don't quite hear that, but fair enough if that's how you feel. I get that sound can create that emotion and feeling very easily. So if you think that about like a Black Country New Road, for example, listen to this track. This is like that times 10. It's just too much, man. The gimmick gets so old. I'm just way beyond wanting any of these sounds by this point in the album. Thankfully, it does shake up a little bit, as you do get Mr. Eclectic, which has this bossa nova feel to it, which I really like. I'm a big lover of bossa nova, perhaps more so than the trad pop sounds on this album. Although, again, those albums from the 60s, those sounds, those 50s albums, you know, I'm not against either. I like a lot of those too. But bossa nova, I think, is a bit more of a Ryan Core type feel. You know, this is like Ryan music right here. And I'm all for this one. Lyrically, again, gets a little bit silly with, you know, describing the guy and just kind of mocking him. I guess he's like a man-child in that sense, and you're just basically like getting a Sabrina Carpenter version of like a bossa nova song in that sense, really. Because that's the thing, when you peel back the layers, you peel back the sound of the album, you do feel like lyrically a lot of these tracks are just like anybody else in the pop girl world right now. And I don't know if anyone else has picked up on that, but I was kind of akin to kind of going, yeah, these tracks feel very similar to the writing style of many pop girls at the moment. But yeah, aside from that, I think musically the song sounded really good. I thought Tough Luck was interesting, how it kind of like went into this totally new sound where, again, it felt like more of like an Olivia Rodrigo indie pop tune or a Gracie Abrams type song, where it went into that more like ferocious kind of like angsty section where the instrumental really changed up, and she was kind of like going at it, going, you know, on about this guy who's just, you know, constantly cheating and lying to her and stuff like that. Again, lyrically, all too familiar to a lot of modern pop girls in how they write, and that's not to attack any of those girls. I think, you know, some of them are really talented, but the writing style is starting to become really, really similar with a lot of these pop tunes that hit the charts and these relationship exes doing you wrong drama type tracks. And yeah, that little section for me just felt way too similar to how the writing style of a lot of these girls are at the moment. It's all kind of like becoming a bit one note, and the angles that they're using aren't new or exciting in a way that I'd want this type of writing to be. I'd want it to be a little bit more interesting and engaging. It's relatable for people that are going through that, but yeah, for me personally, I just heard it too much to find it even close to relatable. It just all feels like it's melding into one type of archetype of pop girl. The final track was teasing something very interesting. The way that song hits a crescendo and climaxes is very interesting. I don't know if this is her way of saying, look guys, we're leading on to something new by the time the next album comes out, or it was just a one-off way to close out the album. But that was by far the most interesting musical section of the entire thing. It felt new, it felt unique, it felt like something I don't think many other modern artists would even try to do on a pop album in that sense. So I was very impressed by that bit. Perhaps the only close resembling example would be the newest Miley Cyrus album. There were some really interesting musical moments there that I thought were quite daring, I thought were quite unique, and sadly the album ended up flopping commercially, go figure. But yeah, that's the only example I can point to and go, wow, there's somebody else in the mainstream that would be willing to do that. It's just a shame it took till the very end of the album to hit that point, but I thought it was pretty cool, and it's interesting to see if that is like a sign of things to come, or it is just the way she wanted to close out the album. But overall, I find this all a bit too whimsical, and I like whimsy. I like whimsy. You are coming to the right guy if you want somebody to like a whimsical album, my friends. I love that shit. I love that shit. I live for that shit. But sometimes I can't always co-sign it when it's all a bit too airy-fairy. It's all a bit too Disney. It's all kind of gushy-wushy. Like, this album's just not doing it for me, man. I can't live by this. But if you are a big Disney fan, if you love the classics, this album is for you, my friends. If you want a Disney musical type album without having to watch a film, just listen to this, because this is what you want. This is what you're looking for. It's all too traditional. It doesn't feel like we're getting anything particularly new. Again, though, if you're young, it is new in that sense, because there isn't anything out there in the mainstream like this. But yeah, I don't know, I'm just not really feeling it. The writing is super basic as well. I respect it. I appreciate that this has an audience in 2025. I kind of like that. But did I enjoy the album from front to back? Nah. I'm going to go 5.5 out of 10. It's just not quite doing it for me. Thank you, as always, for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree, disagree? Do you like this album a lot more than I do? Do you, think I'm being a crazy man? Love to see what you think. Yeah, as always, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you're checking out more videos as well. And if you're feeling really generous, you could maybe check out the Patreon membership page, support what I do. Plenty of fun videos on the way, and plenty of reviews, all that kind of stuff. Lists, rankings, tier lists, all that good stuff. Let me know what you want to see next, and goodbye.